50 years ago this year, Abington Shoe Company in Massachusetts took a huge risk and they used a lot of revolutionary materials in a boot. 5 years after that, the boot was so successful, they named their company after the boot. Timberlands. Why did this Massachusetts boot company making boots for New England construction workers become a literal meme-ified sensation in New York City? Why is New York City so obsessed with the Timberland boot? And that has to do with 6 things. 2 revolutionary technologies that Timberland tried and really became successful for and changed the path of boots forever. 1 other technology that wasn't new, but that put this boot really over the top for New Yorkers and New Englanders and everything like that. And finally, Timberlands do 2 things to the wearer that are rather superficial, but makes everybody kind of like the boots more. So today, we're going to explain those 6 things. And we're going to talk about sizing and comfort and stuff like that. And if these boots are worth it, because there's a lot of videos saying these are trash, they're not worth it anymore, they're not what they used to be, all of that. So we'll address that at the end. Okay, let's go! Let's get the most boring things out of the way first, sizing and comfort. A lot of people say these aren't comfortable boots. I guess I would agree. There's no padding or cushioning or anything like that. They're very simply constructed. It's just thick, hard rubber on the outside with a little cardboard on the inside. I still don't mind them. They feel like regular boots. Nothing amazing, nothing terrible. Sizing, stick to your regular size. That's what I did. If you've never worn boots before, go a size down from your shoe size, but I highly suggest, since these are Timberlands, just go to the store and try them on, okay? I know it's the internet age, but sometimes it's nice to support your local Macy's. There were obviously superficial reasons why people like these boots, and by superficial, I don't mean in a bad way, but I mean aesthetically, what did they have going for them? The first thing is that they are nubuck, which is leather with the top shaved down. It's softer, it feels a little fluffier, but what it also does is it looks a little newer, longer than smooth leather because it's harder to scratch and scuff and see those. So if you're trying to keep these boots looking new all the time, much easier with nubuck than with smooth leather. The other great thing these boots do is they add a solid inch and a half to your height. So if you're just, creasing that 6-foot line and you really want to take it, put these on. And if you're not creasing that 6-foot line, you probably want to get Timberland Pros because those add even more height. Not that I have any experience trying to look taller in my life. I'm a healthy 5'9". The other thing about Timberlands is how incredibly, ridiculously recognizable they are. I'm very far away from the camera right now. You probably can't see my sweatshirt that well. You can't see my jeans that well, but you could tell what boots I'm wearing. But look it, even if I take 4 steps this way, he's still wearing Timberlands. In order to understand why these boots were so revolutionary, we have to kind of briefly go back into history and see what boots we were dealing with at the time. Now, this was a technology that was invented by military boot brand, kind of. They made most things for the military. Then it slowly caught on. Timberlands may not have been the first to do it. They're obviously the most recognized to do it, and I believe they're the ones that made this what it is. But either way, before this technology existed, we had this. The first thing we had was wellies, the rubber boots that, well, we also had LL Bean boots and stuff like that with rubber bottoms. Essentially, we had rubber, which was great, but I can't particularly picture Biggie Smalls walking around with knee-high rubber boots in Brooklyn. But we did have wellies and rubber boots in general. We also, of course, had regular leather boots. Leather is not water impermeable, but you can wax them to make them pretty close if you're outside all day. They will still soak through the leather, and on top of that, they're also stitched, so you're putting a ton of holes in your leather anyway. Even if you use the best of the best, most watertight construction, water will still come in eventually, and they are not waterproof. They're very water resistant. Now, before we even get to the technology, the question is, well, why isn't everybody just wearing boots made like Timberlands? Why do wellies still exist? Why do leather boots not made like Timberlands still exist? And the answer is really polar opposite for each one of them. The reason why wellies and stuff still exist is because they are truly watertight, water impermeable for as long as that rubber is together. Timberlands have a few snags along the way that don't really make that happen. And then other traditionally made leather boots have something else that Timberlands don't have, which is a longer lifespan. You can really open up different leather boots, replace a lot of the things and rebuild them. Timberlands, not so much. So they don't fill every gap, but they do fill a lot.
Did you hear our rocks?
No, I didn't hear anything.
We tried to throw rocks to distract.
Filming in Maine with Taylor. This is oh, you know Amelia. And they brought me muffins, but also scared me a lot because I was filming my boots in the woods. This video is brought to you by Carrot, specifically a feature on Carrot called Deal Hop, where you can save up to 90% on things that you're already gonna buy anyways. You don't have to make any concessions, and you don't even need a coupon.
Whoa.
For example, right now, I'm really into hurricane lamps. I want to cover my apartment in hurricane lamps, but they're expensive and they're antiques. So I use Deal Hop to find the best deal on hurricane lamps that I possibly can find. And a lot of the times what happens is if you're on a website and you're looking at a product, Deal Hop will find it on a different website for cheaper. And I talk about Carrot all the time because you probably are looking at multiple things that you're willing to or want to purchase. At the same time, you open up a ton of tabs. Carrot is also the solution for that. You just hit me with... Oh my God, I just got hit with a paddle. Carrot makes it easier than ever to keep everything in groups, and you can have gift registries. You can say, this is what I want for Christmas, this is what I want to get Taylor for Christmas, all while making sure you get the best deal and make shopping fun again. So go install Carrot's app or extension and they will automatically pull up these deals for you. You don't have to lift a fingy. And you can check out my profile and my link below by clicking on the link below. Thank you, Carrot. You're the best. Longtime supporter. The second thing that happened, the first thing was the big revolutionary thing, but the second thing is also incredibly important for the leather, is silicone tanning. Leather is usually tanned in two ways. Two ways are the most popular. Chrome tanning and vegetable tanning. Vegetable tanning is done with tree bark and stuff like that. Chrome tanning is done with chromium salts. Chromium salts are not that good for the environment or sometimes people's feet. But silicone tanning is a relatively new way of tanning that is very revolutionary for the world of waterproof leather boots because silicone tanning is a way where you can infuse silicone into your leather, which makes it virtually waterproof. Silicone is kind of like the rubber of the plastic world, but it's specifically not a plastic. It's made, if you think of beach sand, that is the very beginning of silicone, which I believe is silica, and then that gets turned into silicone after it's purified, and then it becomes silicone, and then it gets infused to boots and everything like that. I do think there is a layer of DWR on top of these boots, which is a durable water repellent finish. I think that's why water is just totally beating off, and you can see there's like a force field around the boots when I'm walking in the water. That will 100% wear away over time, but you can replace it with sprays and stuff like that. But the silicone tanning of these boots means that there is water repellency kind of baked into the boots that will stay virtually forever. And finally, before we get to the most revolutionary part of these boots, there was something else that made them incredibly helpful all year long in New York, in New England, wherever you may be, and that is 400 grams of Primaloft insulation, aka something that will keep your feet warmer in the winter, possibly a little cooler in the summer, depending on how hot it is. Probably not. You probably want an unlined boot at that rate. But the biggest issue that plagues leather boots in general is their construction when we're talking about them being waterproof, because some of them go like this, the leather bends out, some of them go under, but either way, you are left with a massive gaping hole ready to suck in any fluid that it comes in contact with. So fusion is really the word, whoa, a salamander. Fusion is the word of the day here because you can rubberize leather, you can do a few different things to leather, but what is hard to do is put something in there seamlessly that doesn't chip off or come off. When we're talking about the bottom of boots, you're not trying to fuse something when you're sewing it, but you're trying to get as close as a seal as you possibly can. What Timberland really took hold of was injection molding. So instead of sewing anything, we are basically like blowing and shooting rubber and everything around the bottom of the boot, and that's as close as we can possibly get to infusing because it's molten rubber, it just bonds with the leather super tight. It's almost impossible to rip those two things apart. That's why you can't really repair these boots that often. But what that means is water can also not come into your feet and wet your socks. So that's great. You never want to have anything inside of your feet besides blood. Now the question arises, are these worth it? Because a lot of people are saying, not anymore. That still doesn't really fully answer the question of why did these boots get so popular in New York? What was that special thing that they had? There's something different with this water and the water in New York. I would contemplate drinking this water right now if I was really thirsty, but then there is the New York puddle, the New York water, the New York flowing water down the street, New York City, of course. I live in New York City right now, and there's no feeling like walking into water past your boot line or past your shoe line and getting your socks wet, because this water it's dirty with dirt. I'm assuming there's algae in it and stuff like that, maybe some bad viruses. New York puddle water, I have no idea what that is. So water resistance and waterproofness is incredibly important, especially if you are outside commuting, walking around, doing other things in New York in the 80s and 90s that a lot of people did. Now the path that they probably took is such. I'm assuming they started off actually with New England construction workers. They wore them on the clock, off the clock. They picked up momentum in New England. People really like them in the winter, trudging through the snow and everything like that. New York is not that far from New England, so they probably traveled there rather quickly. Construction workers were wearing them, city people started wearing them, and then, of course, finally, the true answer, hip hop pick them up. All of these just momentous icons changing the entire scene of music were wearing big Timbs with the laces open, walking around with big shorts. Now, the million-dollar question is, did these boots go downhill? Did they lose quality over time? And are they now remnants of what they used to be? It's hard to find what they used to be. I will say one thing I really don't like about these boots is that there is fake stitching on the rubber, like molded on. Not a fan of that. But in terms of actual quality, in terms of use of material, I like them. I think they're good. They could be a little bit better for the price tag. There could be leather where there is cardboard. There could be things like that. But in terms of mass-produced brands and the value that you're getting, I don't think these are a worse value than Doc Martens, the base level, at all. If anything, I would say these are a better deal. I think because they do have some root in construction, Timberlands can never totally veer away in their main flagship models from quality. Anyways though, that is about it. I don't know if you could tell, I'm trying to force fall to come. It is like 80 something outside, like 80% humidity. You can probably tell by my hair. I'm wearing sweaters and jeans now because it's about time that it's fall.